Hello, folks. Welcome back. If you are here yesterday, welcome back. Let me test again. Let me test again. Sometimes I forget to test previously, and then I realize I couldn't, people couldn't hear me. Oh yeah, so I think it is working today. So that's cool. Yeah, yes, for some reason I'm just not very good sometimes with or sometimes the equipment for some reason doesn't connect or something, but in any event it works. So welcome again. And so yesterday, right, we started playing around with or taking a look into the data API that DataStax, the company I'm working with at, right, and we have this new data API that came out. As such, data API is flexible in the sense that you can, and also to just so you know, is specifically built for generative AI applications. And folks, everybody has to know this now. It is what is enabling ChatGPT, right? The ever popular model, right? That enables us to build generative, AI applications. So the chat part is only one part of it. So the chat, though, it doesn't have to be talking all the time or having like text. In fact, we all know already you can use text and basically ask your bot to find pictures for you, or have a picture and then tell it to describe, and then it will kind of spit out words and describe that picture. So that's pretty amazing. I think that's what is very disruptive about this technology, and has been fascinating us for over a year now. When it came out, it was November 2022. So anyway, so today too is exciting. But first of all, too, before I forget, I actually, as you guys know, this my background here, I actually want to pay attribute, or actually I should say, I want to pay tribute to the photographer who took this picture. And I believe that was the last time when we had it very cold and in Chicago. And it's his name is Barry Butler. So if you search for him too on Twitter, and that's nice too. And actually he's been sharing all those pictures that he's been taking unceasingly, right? Every day he will be going out and do some pictures, even when he's traveling. And I believe he's originally from Ireland too. So what a great treasure we have in Chicago, and I like to share the picture. So I want to thank him and want to encourage you, if you want to, you can go to his Twitter and then follow him there too. And then let me search for it. He didn't ask me. He doesn't even know me, but being in Chicago, we're kind of very friendly town. And want to share too. So let me see. Barry Butler photography. So I may actually reach out to him sometime when I have a chance. So here we go. Let me kind of text chat. So let's see. Okay, let me do that. So Barry Butler photography. Again, I think this is how I can pay him tribute in here. Maybe one day have him come or something. And actually, he was on TV the other day too, if you're in Chicago watching it. And so he's certainly a very talented person. So I just gave you this Twitter feed too. And basically, yeah, so that's his Twitter, and Barry Butler. And you can go there and then search too. He's published a lot of his pictures on Twitter or the X platform. So you can search, and then they are like center around Chicago. But when he travels, I've seen pictures that he's taken and in other places too. So that's pretty fascinating. So just want to pay a tribute to him. So in case you wonder. So all right, folks. So let me go back in here and let's kind of talk again, right? So, right now it's cold, but thankfully, too, I think finally the cold kind of receded yesterday here in Chicago. So we are still cold, and then it's like Fahrenheit wise, it's like around, I think hovers around like 18 Fahrenheit. So that's still like for Celsius, for maybe a majority of the folks in the world that's still, already using Celsius. And I think it's still like minus 10 or so, somewhere around that. And thankfully too, the wind has also died down, so we don't have a problem with wind chill. And that's what happened too if you live in kind of cold places. Just the temperature without wind is actually, you can sort of get by, like in a minus, let's say minus 10 Celsius. If there's no wind, it's okay actually. But then if there's wind, then it kind of, essentially too, it blows on you. So whatever you have, your body heat is basically essentially get blown away. So you feel colder. So it's just the effect of it and makes you feel colder. So anyway, we had wind chill that was down to like minus 35 Fahrenheit or minus 38 Celsius too. Can you believe that was like on Sunday or something? I went outside. I cannot believe it because I go to church normally, right? Sunday. And I had to go out and it was so cold. And I remember just going out, getting my car, close the garage door. My hands felt frozen and within that 10 seconds. So it's just too much, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I even here? So anyway, just so you know too, I'm a transplant to Chicago, so I'm not even local, but I have lived here for 20 years now. So I kind of have I wouldn't say I got used to it, but it's sort of like you learn how to kind of live in here, without being killed by it. So, okay, but that's okay. Then you should all come, and visit if you are here, if you haven't been, right? And come in the springtime. Summertime can get kind of muggy and hot, but then for the most part too, is pretty nice around, springtime or fall time and all of these things. So anyway, folks, so I share with you Barry Butler photography, but today we're just going to be talking about this data API, right? And so data API as such, comes from, what is it called? Let me do that. It's my company, DataStax. So, okay, so here we go. Actually, let me do this first, getting started. Let me do that. Okay, so let me put it over here and let me also make myself a little shrink so then I don't take up the page too much. So yep, and here I am. And let me kind of do this. And and then I think I shared with you already yesterday. So if you go to the DataStax, let me get there first. Let me get a little bit bigger as well, the fonts. So if you go to datastax.com, right? So this already kind of talks about one-stop data API for Gen AI apps. So this is what you can use for building ChatGPT. And today too, as I mentioned, right, we're not going to be able to finish building everything all at once, but I want to show you too how you can also leverage on this data API to build the chatbot app. So that's kind of exciting. But the thing though, I have to kind of mention, right, if you are being told, right, let me see, if you're being if you're curious or if you're being told to build a chatbot, and what would you think of, right? And the thing is too, let me kind of step through with it with you first, but let me kind of share this too. Like again, this is our, let me do that. Sometimes I kind of forget too. Let me do this. I think this is kind of not quite right, so let me do that. Okay, and then let me do that. Design, oops, no, style, no, text. Sometimes I can't even remember where. Okay, here we go. You go to datastax.com, and so let me kind of do, let me just do a banner so that it's easier for you. Teleprompter. Wait, what is it called? Banner. Okay, let me do a banner. Wait, where is it? Ah, here we go. Okay, so www.datastax.com. Okay, so here we go. And why is it the banner not moving? Let me do that. It's supposed to be. Oh wait. What am I thinking about? I'm actually thinking of the ticker. So let me do that. Let me add that to a ticker. I don't know. Not thinking right now. So sorry about that. And let me do that. DataStax.com and add, and then let me show. Okay. So that is funny. It's actually not continuous. Oh wait, that's the teleprompter. Okay, let me do this. Let me hide that. Let me do that again. So anyway, let me say it again. So I may be interrupted. In which case, because the at the furnace is a lady who comes here and service my furnace today. So that's pretty nice. And here we go. So at the very top, datastax.com. So visit that to get more information about it. But I just wanted to kind of point out, I'm going to be interrupted in between, but I will put up a sign in here just so you don't go away. But so anyway, so without further ado, let's get into it. Things I'm sure you are eager to, and so am I. And rather than just talking, and let me do this one thing. And okay, so this is good. DataStax.com is up top. So this is where you can get to our DataStax. And so let's kind of quickly talk about it, what you need, right? So for chatbot, right? So a lot of times too in today, if you're a programmer, you realize that chatbot, you can write the code, in JavaScript, for example, or Python, and essentially use the browser to be the place where you exchange messages. And that's what is mostly are being done now in the web browser. So it has techniques called web browser like scraping, right? So essentially what's there, you can write code and there are libraries that allows you to do that. Now, the thing is too, is that you can also be doing it a little bit not through web scraping. And in fact, I have example too. That's if now let's get back to Java. So you can actually use Java as well. And there's example in Quarkus. And I hope to also show Quarkus too. So if some folks too, especially if you're familiar with Java, and Quarkus is comes from Red Hat, is open source and Apache license, very fast, right? And basically too, it compiles, when you compile code, it's basically it does all of these magic and trim down your compile and get rid of a lot of extra fat, so to speak, and then make your executable super slick, super fast and lean, so then it can be loaded up quickly and all that kind of good things. So anyway, just thought I'd bring it up because I am going to be hoping to collaborate with the speaker, right, from there, and we will be talking about a chatbot that's actually using backend is a Java backend, but yet in the front end we can still be using LangChain being like one of the most popular libraries these days, right? This is TypeScript, JavaScript based, and also supports Python, that allows you to write code, essentially to build, chat GPT types of apps and interact with large language models too. So, okay, so let's kind of talk about it, right? When we build a chatbot, we'll need some server in there in order to kind of help us with the messages, right? And so basically you can use Quarkus to do that too, and then use some sort of front end like using JavaScript. And these days too, today too, we're going to be looking at a JavaScript client, as well as we'll be leveraging on Python to do the web scraping, a couple of the chatbot like utility that you will need because you need to scrape all of the data and send the data over. So then, from there, that's where, you ask questions and those are the prompts. The prompts will then be sent over to the LLMs, for processing. Now, the thing is that, and here's the thing, LLMs, as we all know, is pretty much a, humongous giant, right? A giant set of data is all trained, with all this stuff, all the whole world, but not just yet. when you train a model, you take the data is basically cutoff date, is, let's say, ChatGPT 3.5. The cutoff date is actually, I believe, 2022 when ChatGPT 3.5 came out. It was trained on a set of data that I believe it comes from 2021. So what happened is that in the beginning of 2000, or the time where the cutoff date to the time it is now, it won't have all those information. They are not trained. So in order to be able to fill in the gaps, so to speak, then you use a pattern called RAG, which stands for, or people call it RAG, right? Retrieval Augmented Pattern. Is an architectural pattern. Essentially, you have the retrieval side, that where you retrieve data maybe from some source that can be a real-time set of data, or some kind of data that's more up to date, that you kind of fill the gaps. It's kind of a stopgap type of measure it uses, and it works fairly well, right? So you do retrieval, and then the generation part too will generate all of the responses that you're looking for. Is basically after the LLM search for all the answers, taking what is there, that you send it over in the interim, or maybe just got kind of like injected in pre or something. When you spin up the server, you're gonna like fill it up with more data. So all those kind of data that's not in the LLM. So it's essentially from there, that's where the generation will kind of, retrieval will kind of retrieve things from there, and then essentially pass it on to generative side. The generative side is the fancy side, in which it can write an essays for you, write a blog post for you, design a fashionable dress for you, write a song, compose a video, whatever it is. Or you're looking for houses, it returns a list of all the houses with images, all of these fancy stuff. So that's what it is. So in order to send the prompts over to LLM, you have multiple ways of doing it, right? So what we're going to be using today is JavaScript. This is probably a lot more folks are familiar with it. JavaScript is essentially, you use that, and then essentially this is where LangChain comes in, because it has all the interactions that you can set it up. Now, the thing I didn't tell you is that basically too, you may want to save some of these chat messages. You want to have some ways to data that's kind of in flow, right? And is sending in between components. You don't want to just close them, right? Let's say server goes away. You want to have some way of capturing them. And so I'm sure you're thinking of right now is some sort of database. So this is what my company is doing, DataStax. We specialize, right, in all of these data stuff, right? And even before my time, they are already there, right? A company has been like 13, 14 years in existence. So very popular. It uses NoSQL. Technology is essentially Apache Cassandra. So folks, I think I've talked about that on this kind of thing. But let me kind of take a look too, so folks, you'll know. So Apache Cassandra, if you kind of search for that, and you can kind of take a look too. That's so that's an open source NoSQL database. And by the way, I was at this Cassandra Summit too. Lots of great talks. The LangChain co-founder was there, Harrison Chase, and he made a talk, and really nice. And also from Llama Index, the guy who did his company does another kind of very popular JavaScript based and supports Python library, Llama Index too. They were there. Hugging Face also were there. All these things. So anyway, all of these, as you can see, the talks keynote videos are all published, and you can watch it. And I myself too did a talk, so if you're interested, you can search for me in there, or just simply go through that whole list of so many great talks being recorded too. Anyway, so that's Cassandra. So that's what our company is doing, right? Using Cassandra to power everything. Now, the thing is too, is that I have to admit, even I started off working life as a developer, an engineer. That's what I was doing for 20, 25 years, long time, right? And so mostly, I do have to admit, is Java, but I also have done full stack, right? So doing some JavaScript, and also I worked for Bank of America, and at the time, they were actually extensively using Python within the company, even though underneath the hood, they have a lot of C++ implementation of their platforms. Most of the time, we're doing Python. So I've also done that. So to me, I think let's not, kind of get too specific. And I'm sure most of us these days are so flexible. We have become polyglot. It's like us going out, speaking, not just English. I mean, English is pretty universal, but you can speak your local language that you've grown up with, right? And then you maybe move to a new place, you're learning something. Folks move to Europe, you learn some European languages, or Spanish in Latin America mostly, or except Brazil is Portuguese, all of these things. So it's like that, we become polyglot. We can speak multiple languages, and I think that's what it should be. So the thing, though, is that it is very true. JavaScript, I believe, seems to be mostly kind of adopted by a lot of folks these days. And now, with Node.js having the server-side capability, and even today, too, I wanted to show with this example is using Vercel, which is like a deployment platform, right? For you to deploy like Next.js kind of framework type of application, right? JavaScript-based application. So we'll kind of be taking a look into that too. So again, we're going to be looking into Astra database, how you can use it, use the data API to interact with it. And then there's also Python that helps with the chatbot, a lot of utilities, web scraping, for example, scrape off of the conversations of the bot interactions. And then we also have LangChain for essentially interacting with the LLMs too. And then, of course, then what else? What else is that? I think that's about it. And then Vercel, that's right. Vercel is the Next.js deployment platform that we can use. So that kind of sums up what we're going to be using. So let's kind of, without further ado, let's kind of start taking a look into it. So from here, you can actually go into here. I want to kind of quickly point out too, there's our product manager, Val Kulichenko, a great guy. I met him too at Cassandra Summit for the first time. That's very nice. And he used to work for Apache. I like to say Apache, what was it? Apache Iceberg, not Iceberg. Apache, the Greek game folks, right? So not Iceberg, anyway, but that's where he came from. He's also an open source guy, so he's joined DataStax, and he actually helps with this data API launch too. That's very nice. And then Sao is the user experience design person leading that team, too. Pretty cool. So another thing, you can read through this if you like, right? And so kind of go to our front page here and search for all this information. It is described, the new data API. Again, yesterday I talked a little bit about it because there was just so much excitement. So just wanting to kind of quickly show you how you can start using it too, using our managed cloud platform, the Astra database too. But in the meantime, also too, wanting to point out, right, and over here too, let me kind of make it bigger. So new client here, the data API, essentially is an entry point for Astra database, to integrate with a broader Gen AI ecosystem, right? So that includes LangChain, Llama Index, and Google has Vertex AI that actually works with this Palm their library, the Palm library for ChatGPT apps, and then Amazon Bedrock is where they kind of host a lot of the LLMs, on the AWS platform and other things too. So it's pretty versatile. And then as far as like writing code, right, you can actually just use command line using curl too. As you know, curl is essentially the command line client to kind of interact with URLs with HTTP endpoints, right? So you can use curl to do that, and we'll kind of take a look at how that's being done, for this chatbot. But otherwise, too, this data API also supports client libraries like popular languages like Python, and kind of no doubt is the top language being used, for machine learning, AI types of applications, and then a lot of math too, and then also TypeScript is JavaScript based, but that one with type kind of, as we all know, we don't need to explain, is essentially JavaScript, but with, kind of strict typing supported, and also Java too. So these three are client libraries. But I also want to point out too, there's also open source library in DataStax here that we developed is called Stargate. So essentially, too, these client libraries are leveraging on the Stargate library, but the Stargate library is what you use is the API set of libraries that you can write, programmatically. You can write client code to interact with your database. So that's what we're using. And, basically it's got expanded, has functionality, has APIs that enable you to build Gen AI apps, essentially talking to the vector database. So, okay. That's why Silas in this too is basically want to introduce to you Data Explorer in our Astra portal too. So we'll take a look into the portal a little bit, and then we can then kind of start by, maybe today that's all we have time for, is essentially create the account, make sure you have the account, and then how do you create a collection, to hold the vector database, all the embeddings and all of these things. And maybe that's what we have time for, but we'll also maybe look at some code. We'll take a look at some of the thing. And basically too, the example too is taken from our documentation, written by our really great, awesome documentation team. And I looked into that app and said, oh, this will be a good one to let's kind of showcase it here, and let's step through it together on this stream. So, okay, so that's what it is, and it's essentially the quick start tutorial in there, and it's basically that's what it is. And then wanting to also point out to you too, like if you go at the top here, it has a live stream that we want to notify you for. So this is something, if you want to take a look, it's also like from our Alex here from DataStax. He's our marketing product. Actually, I think he's more like a product marketing manager, product kind of / marketing manager. So he leads the effort, and also with the integration to with some of all of these external libraries that we have integrated with the LangChain, for example. So here he and this gentleman here, let me see what his name is, Jacob Lee, is a founding engineer from LangChain, and then Alex is our ecosystem. He's actually product manager for our ecosystem too. And so a partner with this will be LangChain. So the two of them is going to do a webinar, and this one again will be Wednesday, January 24th at 10 a.m. like Pacific time. So, but don't worry about it. I believe that in case you missed too, but do register first, because after you register, the recording will be made available to you. I think it will be very interesting, because in their case too, they have actually built a Wikipedia chat, so essentially to train with all the data that they have taken from Wikipedia, like a subset of it, right? And it essentially illustrate how you can build this RAG application. I talked about it just short time ago, retrieval augmented generation pattern, and it uses the Wikipedia data and supply it in real time with LangChain and deploy it to Vercel, and then Astra DB is there to basically be the storage partner, for enabling chatbot, like a very robust, type of chatbot, not your little mom and pop shop. This is a serious one. Well, serious in the sense is not like overwhelming. I think it's something we can quickly start by doing. So that's what we're going to take a look into. So all right, so let's kind of take a look right now, right? So how do we actually begin, right? So let's go to our docs here. So actually, that's the thing, is that you can go through the docs directly like this, but let's also then take a look into our database. So let me kind of give you a link that you can use too, okay, in order to sign up for our, let me use another link, although I should have generated a link earlier, but let's say, okay, let's do this. Let me do this, because I have already created this. So let me do this one thing. Let me share with you the link to get to signing up on Astra database platform. Let me do this. Let me do new window. Okay. Okay, so this is a free usage, right, of our vector search on Astra platform. So you can quickly do a scan with your phone if you like, or if you want, you can basically just click on this short bit.ly link in here, and then you'll be able to get to the the sign up. So I'm gonna do it now, right? So I'm going to just click on the link. Okay, so then it will bring you to this registration page. Folks, if you want, actually, let me do it in the ticker. Why do I do that? Because I think it's just easier now for folks to sign up for it. Copy link. Okay, let's go back here, and I will just change the ticker. Free tier, let's say, right? This one, just so you know, is free tier Astra DB Vector. Sign up. Is it showing? Okay, cool. So here, essentially too, you go to https at dtsx.io, 47f small letter K ELM, and then you'll be able to get to this page. And let me kind of make it a little bigger. So if you scroll, so over here too, you can sign in or do sign up if you haven't already got an account, right? And you can sign up over. Okay, so the sign up is basically a different page. And all you need to do is give your first name, last name, and your email address, and that's all it's needed. It's pretty quick to just check your email to forward. We do not ask you for your credit card, which is very nice. So in my case, though, I already have an account, so I go to sign in with Google. Okay, here we go. So basically, too, like if you kind of sign in, you won't be able to see some of these databases here. But let me take a look over here, okay? I want to create a vector database. That's your first step. And then you want to do serverless vector. Make sure it's selected. It's selected by default. And then you basically can then go and say, database name, let's say Mary, let's say Twitch, Mary Stream something, right? Whatever, however you want to call it. You can use Google Cloud, the three big cloud providers, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. And you pick the one that you like. And in my case, I want to do Google Cloud. Then I say create. Now, in my case, it's not allowed because I already have one created. But in your case, it should accept it if you haven't already created one. So, okay, so in my case, because I already have one created, and in fact, I created it on December 23rd for Azure because I did a talk with the Microsoft folks, and we talk about Astra DB support in Azure. You can also use Microsoft Azure, their portal, to find our database too and create it there. Or you can use our portal directly, which is what I'm doing now. So I already have it. It's a vector database and it's active. And basically, too, you can also use the Data Explorer over here. I think yesterday, that's what we did, right? Or did I do it? Oh, okay. So here, too, you can create a database and basically select the number of dimensions. Now, the dimensions is essentially how many embeddings you're going to support, right? So you can have embeddings that are up to 15,300 something, right? For if you use an open API model. Now, one thing to note is that, as you may be aware, right, vector embeddings is what we are kind of working heavily with, for a vector database, because that's what is essentially the meat of this whole vector database thing. The embeddings essentially encompass, kind of translate, and basically too, a sentence that comes in got broken down into different words, and the word too will get translated, essentially mapped to some numbers. Like if you do a select, on your database, all you will be seeing is just arrays after arrays filled with floating point numbers. As you know, this means they are decimal numbers, can be 0.02, 0.333, something, all these things, they are like an array. So you see many, arrays of these, and then they won't be human readable, right? You just see all the numbers, but that's what it is. Dimensions represent, how many, of these embeddings they are, and it gets translated essentially as you are, converting, in this whole process to, as you are getting data ingested into your database, that's what it gets converted. And why do we do that? That's because it allows, vector linear algebra type of kind of execution or operations be done on these essentially, floating point arrays highly efficiently. So it's essentially too, if you're a math major, if you're familiar with linear algebra, and that's what it's making use of. So just FYI, for you to know. And also too, basically, in vector kind of search, think of them they are no longer like data that's just some numbers is 1 or 2 in a straight line. Essentially too, we're talking about multidimensional data. So these data exist in I wouldn't call like space, because it's not 3-dimensional, it's only 2-dimensional. So they have essentially too, they're, it can be representing, a point in a two-dimensional graph. So let me kind of quickly show that to you, because I explained that in my talk as well. So if you want to take a look, so this is what vector embedding, if you want to visualize what it looks like, and that's the best we can kind of express it. But the thing is too, if this particular one will make more sense to you, that means a cat and a dog and a house occupies different space inside this XY two-dimensional graph. So that's what it represents. Now, then of course too, right now it's just a very simple example, but in a complex kind of cases, right, you can have millions of pixels, or I should say pixels, points, on this graph that are representing many things, and they are all kind of interconnected. It's basically an infinite number of small little points. They are not exactly the same, but we want to be able to try to search for any kind of information that's represented on this graph, right? So we're using math to do it. We're using math that actually requires measuring the distance between how close your query string is to what you're looking for. So as you can see, it's highly complex, right? Even I just cannot show it to you right now. I just want to, all you can do is just explain to you the complexity. So that's what it is. So that's what is cosine, is one way of doing distance measurement of where you look for, your data points. And cosine is one of them. There's also Euclidean distance, or dot product too. So as they each have, they are just basically different techniques of identifying, calculating their distance. But the thing is too, they have some nuances between them too. So again, won't get into all the details. Just want to kind of point out to you. So okay, so essentially too, for this project, we're going to have to create a collection. So that's how we kind of call them, right? Now, in regular relational database, we call them tables, right? Even not relational will be NoSQL. These are tables. But essentially too, in vector database terminology, we call these collection. These are collection because they are contained like many gazillion rows of data. They are arrays, make up of arrays of floating point numbers, which is totally humanly impossible to decipher, right? So kind of look at it. So we want to create kind of a collection. But I think yesterday I already did this. I created this called We Are Devs, We Are Developers. And I can actually load some data too, isn't it? Using the client, and I can actually download. Okay, so here we go. Actually, I thought there's like file already kind of that we can use. Okay, no worries about it. Okay, we won't do it in here. I won't demo it, but just wanted to kind of show that to you. Now, in order to interact with this, I think yesterday that's where I stopped, was you can open up what is called a CQL Cassandra query language console, and that's where you can start to interact with your database too. And then so that's what it is. Now, the thing though, I think what I'll need to do is basically I probably have to remove this database, because I think I already have some data in here. Actually, I can I already have this, and I create using like vsearch as my namespace. So that's what it is. And I think it's is it tab? Okay, there's no, actually, is this tab? I kind of like, what? Let me kind of take a look too. We can kind of like look into Cassandra, search for system tables, right? Like that. So querying a system table, how to get all tables, where T equals table names, and how do I see all databases in Cassandra? So you can basically, let's see, there's some script to, okay, let's kind of like do that, right? How to get lists of all key spaces in Cassandra. So you can basically do this in CQL. You can do system schema dot key spaces. So let's do that. Let's take a look at all the key spaces in here. Okay, select star from system underscore schema dot key spaces. Oh, here we go. So I already created this one called vsearch. That's my system space. So the rest are essentially, they will get created for you by default, because these are essentially, they are system level that automatically gets created by default, right? Okay, so that's how you kind of interact. And in this case, I wanted to see what are all my tables. I think it might be, let me try this. Select star from system, schema. I don't know where is the schema. Tables. Ah, there we go. I think I guessed it right. So essentially, if you want to take it's think of it more like system schema is the metadata space that you want to space that you want to do it. So I think there are plenty of it. See, system schema, that's right. This is the key space that I use for accessing any kind of system level table. So over here too, you can see, right, there are all these are not directly available, or kind of we can't manipulate user apps too. These are system level things, but we can read. I think these are all readable. So for example, I do system schema.tables, then it will show me the all of these system level tables. So over here too, as you can see, I have we are devs, and that's actually is the we are devs is basically my collection, I should say. So vsearch has a collection called that. So I bet I can do this. Vsearch dot we are devs. There we go. So that's what I can see. But at least right now I don't have any data. But we can see too is that it has what it looks like, right? Array contains, array size, doc, all of these things, and these are kind of like what it has, for your vector data in there too. So let me see. And I think my let me do this again. Let me kind of have some music. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. And that's what it is. So I see that I already have this table or collection, as we call it. Okay. So in this case, then this is how we can create an account, and then play around with it and just experiment with it. Like I said, you can always create a collection, and essentially do some test collection and enable vector. You can do dimensions up to 1536, example models using text embedding ADA002, and that comes from OpenAI. So just so you know too, vector embeddings, when you generate them, you need to tell it which model you want it. So the most popular ones are excuse me, OpenAI that has this particular one, text embedding ADA-002. And then there are other ones in here too, as you can see, right? So Comninos, for example, has a 300, a small one. So, okay, so let me show that to you too. In our documentation, it's actually pretty cool. So you go back to DataStax, DataStax documentation, and you go over here. You search for over here. What is it? There should be one that says API. Why am I not able to find it? Wait, OSS API. This is funny. Huh. Anyway, I think let's go over here. This is vector database, read our docs. Okay, go to that. That's right. And then that's what it is. So let me share that with you. It's a little bit, I probably have to tell folks. It seems like you have to look around before you can find it. But let's do this, right? Let me do this. And let me update for you to get to this page. Okay, so this is the docs, for all of the our vector database product too. So you can come over here, and basically too, it's very cool because you can take a look at some quick start and how do you start, right? And again, this is how you can work with. There are multiple ways, but like I said, right now we have data API, which is like it's the latest thing that enables you to quickly be able to interact with your LLMs, and interact with LangChain that will actually be generating, sending prompts over to the LLMs, for example, or sending whatever it is, right? So that's what it is. And So going over here, you click on API reference, and that's where you can take a look into the data API introduction. But I wanted to show you this because I was also stepping through this. So you might want to kind of read through this first. And basically, it does require you an Astra account. So actually, I already show you. So just go over there. You create. This is kind of small. So you create an Astra database servers database in the portal, and then you generated an application token in the Astra portal too. So let me kind of show that to you to the in our portal. You show. I go back to my database, December 23rd. When you kind of take a look into this page, just up above me over there, that's the application tokens. And then how do you actually go to the API endpoint is right here too. So everything is there. You can copy it quickly, and then you can generate the token too. So basically, too, it generates the token for me, has the database administrator role and permissions too. So, okay, so this is pretty cool. I can kind of come back here to get it, but you can also save it too and use that essentially. Use it. Think of it like you need to get around town. You need to buy a bus pass. That's your bus pass, and that you can use. So make sure you don't lose it. Otherwise, well, the thing is though, you can always regenerate a new one and use it too. But let's say you hard code it somewhere, and then you have to, every time if you change it, you have to update it. So anyway, it's not a big deal if you lose it, so to speak. So okay, so that's that. Let's go over here. Go back here to the docs again. Go to vector database, our data API introduction in here. Now the thing is too, you have generated all of these token, and then for your database, you have to copy your database endpoint with the auth token values from the database details section of the Astra portal. I just showed that to you, as well as the application token. And basically, you have to export and set up your environment variable that contains what you have, right? So in this case, if I need to be working with this, and so let me show that to you too. Let me bring up my shell, and then we can kind of take a look into it. Hold on a sec. I need to find the terminal. I got too many things kind of covering them up. So wait a minute. Okay. Found it. Okay, here we go. Now, in this case, I think I'll have to, let me pop this open right now. And then I'll maximize it. Then I can bring over. Okay, here we go. So the right side is my terminal in here. So I just wanted to kind of quickly show that to you. Now, by the way, too, I've been working with also this particular open source library. It's called Haystack, for also doing generative AI, and it is Python, from the Python stack too. So if you go to DeepSet, so if you're curious, right, go to DeepSet, this company called DeepSet. Right? Okay, let me kind of do that for you. Here we go. I think the IO AI, yeah, it should be, yeah. So DeepSet is where you can kind of find out information about their technology. So if you go to technology, you find Haystack too. So it's open source NLP, like natural language processing framework, for you to also interact with LLMs. It also has the concept of like doing things as nodes, and also pipelines and all of these things. It's pretty cool too. I started looking into it. In fact, I think it would be fun to be able to build an application that actually makes use of these different, loosely coupled kind of components, and basically construct a chatbot too. You can do that as well. So I just want to quickly kind of share that with you. And also, just so you know, I'm looking into it because I plan to do something. Hey, guess what? My maintenance person is here. So please hold on a second, okay? And I'll be right back. Hello. Hey folks, sorry, I'm back now. Again, I have my furnace lady. Actually, it's a lady who does it. Usually they are guys, but it's good to see a lady doing what would normally be gentlemen's work, right? So it's very, very cool. She's very cool. The first time she came too, so she helps me, change a filter because I haven't had it changed for a year. Apparently, she was saying that it's getting a bit filthy now, with all this stuff. So I was just talking with her. But in any event, I will need to be back downstairs too because she's almost done with the work. So I'm gonna have another break too. But I'm back now. So in case, okay, here we go. And I said, let's talk about the data API, which we did, and let's go over where are we? Okay, let's go back to the documentation. Oh, here we go. Okay, so let's kind of step through what we need to be doing. How about that? I think I'm like getting a little bit like too blocking in here. So let me do this one thing. I'll shrink myself a little further, and so I won't kind of be too interrupted to you guys. So okay, here we go. Where should I go? Maybe go in the middle. How about that? Okay. All right. So make myself a little bit smaller. I'm like on both sides. So all right. So like I said, first step is to create an Astra account, which we already did. And then we created the serverless database, assuming that you did, right? That's what you did. And you have generated an application token in Astra portal, which you have already did, the third step. And now we need to copy the endpoint and the auth token values from the database details section of Astra portal. So, okay, so for these, I just want to kind of quickly show you. Okay, I'm going to go back in here. Actually, I'm doing so many things here. I'm actually working with Rising Wave things. So I was doing with the Docker Compose thing too. So as you can see, we're like, life is full of exciting things, and I have a Vercel thing going, and I also have my Pulsar stuff too. Okay, I have JLlama as well. Gee, but the thing is though, I look at it, this life is full of excitement all the time. So here we go. Are there any questions? Am I seeing anybody asking any question at all? Let me kind of take a look. I don't think I am, right? Okay, let me see. Chat, I see somebody. Oh, and Devash, thank you. You just said hello, and thank you very much. And I only saw it now. I hope it is helpful for you right now. And like I said, right, it is very true. We are kind of working with our Astra database, and that's what I feel too. It's a very strong database. You should consider using it. We offer you free tier, and so why not, right? So that's what it is. So, and again, we're trying to build a chatbot. So now the thing is too is that in here we want to do a wait. Let me kind of clear this. Let me go in here. Okay. Here we go. So all you need to do is doing Astra DB API endpoint. So let me kind of go over there, go back over here and copy my endpoint. You go back to the console here. I copy my endpoint. Okay, it's here. Okay, now the next thing is my OpenAI API key, right? Or actually, I also have to set that. I won't show that to you. So I have already generated my token in here, and whoops, and okay, I'm going to generate another token right now. Okay, I'll generate a new one again. So generate the token. Actually, let me do this one thing. Let me go back there. I'll generate the token, but the thing is though, I'll generate and I will also copy it. But the thing is though, I'm going to have to block this so I can actually set things up. So give me a second, okay? Let me do this. I'm just gonna be Let me do all of these things, okay? I'm back. So, okay, so I just set up my both my DB API endpoint and the application token. And now, you can define a database namespace, which is known as a key space in the Astra DB key space environment variable. Specify the name that's already set for every Astra DB serverless database is default key space. So, okay, so let's do that in here. I think I basically, you know what? I'm going to have to actually create a new key space. So let me do that. It says already set for every. It's called default key space. So let me do that. You go back to dashboard. I think I should be able to create a new key space. Delay in processing. View latest update. What kind of update? I think there's something in the cloud right now. I'm not sure. But anyway, I won't worry about it now. But I want to see if I can actually create a new key space. Settings. Oh, here we go, right? Yeah, create new namespace. So let me create a new one. Oh, in that case, I think I might. I wonder if I still need to create a new, generate a new endpoint. Well, there shouldn't be a need to, because the endpoint is the same, the key is the same, and so is just the namespace that's different. So I want to create one called default key space in here, and add this. Okay. So right now it's initializing. So I'm going to be a little bit patient with it currently, right? So default key space is the one is being generated right now. Let's go back to the documentation and see. Okay, here we go. Sorry, here we go. All right, here. And, so default key space, and to use the examples, also define a collection environment variable too. So now what do I point it to? So first though, let's set up a export Astra. Oops. I think I might be covering things up for you here. Oops. Wait. Let me do this. Wait. My stuff is a little bit kind of funny right now. So folks. Okay. Here we go. I think let me do this one thing. I think I realized the ticker is kind of bothering, so let me go back to removing the ticker right now. Okay, so you can see better. Oops. So in this case, I just need to do Astra DB key space, and I just created. My wrong thing. Okay, I just created this thing called default key space. Okay, all right. So I have all of these things now. Okay, so now to use the example, I also need a collection environment variable. So, I already let's create a new collection again because let's do that in here. So let's say Twitch collection. How about one? It's getting a little boring, but let's do the text embedding ADA to 002. That's the Open API one, and we can use how about dot product in this case. So method used for calculating vector similarities. Let's create that. Make sure you enable vector to it. That's the whole purpose, right? Using these. Okay. Okay, cool. So we got Twitch collection one. So let me then set up my thing to say collection. Oh, okay. All right. I guess my lady is here. So give me 2 minutes, okay? I'll be right back with you guys, okay? All right. All right, sorry guys, I am back because I had to again take care of paying the lady for the work that she did. So that was very good, and she stepped through with me. My furnace is good. I should remain warm, so that's a good thing. Okay, here I am back again. So what did we do? I was just trying to do the collection, and I created this. Did I say Twitch? Yes, I think I did. Collection 1, right? Let me kind of make sure. Oops. Twitch collection 1. That's it. So, okay. So I also did that. So already, make sure you got the 4, environment variables set up. Astra database and DB API endpoint, Astra DB application token, Astra DB key space, and also the collection. And now, just to kind of really quickly kind of step through, right? It's basically all these kind of, you can reference them later, but you can kind of know that supported data types in data API with string, number, object, they are JSON object, array, Boolean, vector, via dollar vector, and date is via dollar date and null. And there are API limits too. So please take a look at these. Use this as a really nice reference guide. Our documentation team did a really great job and explaining some of these things and their operators too. You can do AND, logical query, AND, or range query is greater than equals to, less than equals to, all these things, right? And so use this as a really good guide. Okay, so here we go. And so after this too, let's kind of take a look, right, to see this guy, the commands, right? Like export environment variables, that's something we've done. The default namespace, key space, if you want to take a look at it. Create the vector enabled collection of these things too. I think we kind of took a look into it already, right? We could actually also do it, kind of do query too. In this case, using curl, the command line command to do that too. So something like this you can do, right? So we can also kind of take a look into here. You can actually do something like create collection. So look at how nice, right? If you want to set up like a bash script, some script, right? You can basically use scripting and then incorporate the curl command to kind of send, send requests, to your database using the data API too. That's pretty nice. So for now, let's kind of take a little quick look too. So in this particular case is doing a create collection. Let's do some sort of query. We have already created that. So let's take a look. And again, if you're interested into all of these like cosine, cosine metric, or like dot product matrix, or dot product, metric, or Euclidean metric too. You can actually read through this. They've done a great job explaining this, and so in a bit of an easier to understand. Look at all the math in here, but no need to worry about it. But it explains quite well. So if you're interested, you can go through this here, and explains all of these, and find the collection. That's what it is. We can do a find collection. How about that? Here, so you can kind of do curl. In example is how you do it, and the result will essentially return you a JSON data back to. So in this particular case, let's do that, right? I've already set up these, and so let's do that. In this case, we do a find collection, explain true, and then pipe it to JSON PP. Although I don't think I have JSON PP, so let's take a look. Let's copy this guy. Okay, again, take a look at the command, right? Curl -s. I think -s. I don't know what it is. If you're curious too, you can kind of take a look. Actually, you could also do this. Let's go over here. Let's go to it. Do a man page. You can show you what the options are. Okay, there's actually a lot of stuff in here, but let's do a -s. Oh, plenty. Okay, how about that? Space. Silent. So this is a silent mode. So it's a curl parameter. And then over here, we give -- location, right? And then request and header, all of these things. But these are all like, curl commands. So let's go back to my original terminal there. Okay, so I already have set up my environment variable, and it's just essentially plug those variable values into this particular command in here. So let's take a look. I think it might come back and say, oh, actually, I have JSON PP. I do. Let's see. JSON PP. Ah, I already have it too. I didn't know. Is the JSON... It's basically a command line. It converts between some input and output formats too. It's doing some sort of conversion in there. So that's great. I think maybe I must have... oh, yeah, Perl programmers. Reference guide. Interesting. Using Perl. But the thing is, though, I do have to say, if you have done Perl before, if you are a regular expression kind of enthusiast, which I was at some point, I mean, I still use a regular expression. I like them because it's cryptic, but it's also very efficient. Once you understand, it's pretty cool. So JSON _pp. And so it comes back with this. See, you can just use your command line, data API using curl, and you'll be able to kind of try to find out, without using the portal, you can kind of query too. And basically we created this collection using dimension 1536. Remember, that's kind of is the open API text embedding, I think the 1536 ADA 0021, and then its metric, basically the distance measurement, we use dot product in this case. So okay, so very cool. So see how nice it is to use, right? And over here too, let's take a look in here. You don't want to do it now, because now we actually, if you want to delete that, then you can kind of use this command, but basically replace the delete collection and point the name to the collection that you want to delete to. You could do that. But actually, you know what? Why don't we do that, right? It's really no harm, because we haven't done anything to it yet. We can quickly recreate it, in fact, using the create collection one. So let's do that. And this way. So curl -s, and over here, -location, all of these things. And so the thing that we wanted to do is basically... you know what? Wait. I actually cannot get to it here. So you know what I'll do? Let me do this. Okay. Comment first. Okay. And but I can't wait. Control C. That's kind of, oh, I can't do that. Okay, here we go. This one. This we go. Okay, so it's basically delete collection. I think I know why. And okay, so here we go. I think I could just do this. Okay, here, that's where we need to be doing, right? Ooh, okay. Okay, so it's just not pretty print, but otherwise too it should be okay in here. We want to send in the command delete collection. Okay, now this is the one. This is what we want to get rid of, and also basically close with the curly braces and quote and pipe it to JSON. Okay, now let's see if that works. How about that? Oh, I got it wrong. Let's make sure I can do it. Okay, here we go. Twitch collection 1. That's what I do. I think it should work. Please work. Yes. Okay, status comes back with the JSON with response of status OK1. That means it's successful. So let's do that again. We do the query again. This is the query. Find collections, right? Okay. Now, no collection because I just removed it. So now let's use the create collection to do it. Let's go back to here. The create collection is, this is find collection. Here we go. Oh no, this one is basically manage collection. This is the one. Okay, so let's do this now. It's essentially let's do it like this. Okay, let's copy them one at a time, kind of one chunk at a time, so I don't get it. Okay, so again, this whole kind of boilerplate kind of thing. In fact, I think you can actually define this whole thing inside another environment variable. So basically, you can say curl this whole chunk in here up to the data open bracket. I think you can also place it inside an environment variable and refer it there too. But for now, let's not do it. I can just use the recall key and copy. So in this case too, the command to run I want to do is create collection. So let's see what is needed now. So let's do that one at a time. How about that? Create collection. So I want to specify name. In this case, I want to do Twitch. How about this time we do collection 2? We just don't want to get things confused. And then name is this, and then we want to do options. So this is like a multiple properties. So we're trying to set a vector. Nested, right? So the vector itself with these particular properties, dimension I need to put in quotes. Dimension. Let's say we want to do 5. Actually, in this case, yeah, let's do. You know what? Let's do a little bit like what we had before. What did we have? How many did we have? Let's take a look. I think that was like 1536 or something, right? It's kind of not showing, I think. Okay. Well, let's do it in here for now. 5, doesn't hurt. And we can always do it on the portal again, too. So let's do it dimension 5. And then a metric, we want to use, this time, use cosine. Again, you have the choice of Euclidean, dot matrix, or the dot product. for Euclidean or cosine. So let's use cosine. Let's just use what the example as it here. And let's align it properly. Vector options. And this is the create collections. And then basically the close of this whole command, and then pipe this whole guy to JSON_pp. Very cool. Okay, so let's kind of run the find collections one. There we go. Which collection 2 is there. Okay, now I think it's kind of, it's, as you can see, it's not too hard to do. But what we can also kind of take a look at right now is to see if we want to actually write code too. How about that? And let's take a look. Okay, so now again, create collection, delete collection, find collection is only a small little handful of commands that you can use. So let's kind of take a look into other commands that we can do. Over here too, you can insert data, do insert one or insert many too. So these are also examples too. So essentially too, it is data API works with JSON data type. So if you're familiar with JSON, it shouldn't be that much of a that should not be any other difference in that. So, and over here too, as you can see too, you can kind of do insertion and see what it looks like in here. But again, we want to try to build ChatGPT pipeline. But again, these are just, we're getting a little kind of touch on how you actually make use of, the data API using the command line curl here. And we took a look into a couple of these commands. And okay, so here, right, you can do insertions, and then there's also updates, I believe, right? Wow, it's quite long too. So let's kind of scroll down and take a look. And actually, over here, you can also like find one or find many commands as well. And then also, find is essentially always, kind of being used in all kinds of kind of systems, because when we store information, we want to be able to search and find it, right? So there are different variations of the search or find commands in here, and also filter as well. So you can also take a look into that. But for now, and then of course, there's also update one or update many. These deals with individual sets of data within the collection, right? Update many. And then you can also delete one or delete many too. There are also those commands too. So, okay, so again, I won't kind of step into this for now, but let's take a look over here too. There's also data API too. If you're kind of JavaScript person, you want to be able to also make use of or kind of have this data API. It works with JavaScript Mongoose too. So over here, I won't get into here, but if you're interested, it's nicely documented in here and gives you all of these example. It also has code level specific information with it to look at app.js. It actually will bring you to the template of these applications to using Mongoose, and then using also data from our movie database sample data as well. So it's pretty cool. And so you can kind of take a look. Let me go back. Okay, let's kind of go back in here. So I, again, won't get into all the details in here. I'll let you look through it. And this one is in particular to the script. This also automates some setup process for a new Astra DB serverless application with Mongoose as well. So here, I won't do that now, and then you can also take a look at Assistance API as well. And it's basically an open API assistance with persistent vector store. And we also have an example like that. So let's try to do that next time, but not this time. Okay, so now we kind of got a little taste into how to work with data API. So you're wondering, how do I use, if I'm like in JavaScript, or let's say use JavaScript or TypeScript to do it. Let's take a look. So if you kind of, in this particular documentation series, you can kind of scroll up a little bit, client usage and reference in here. Then there's TypeScript reference too. So over here, we did create a single collection. So how about let's take a look at how TypeScript does it. So essentially, the exact command to use will be using the Astra DB create the call. The function call is create collection, and then give it collection name and also the options, a record, of string or any, right, and like that, and you can do it too. So let's take a look, right? This is the actual example of a TypeScript thing. You import Astra DB collection from at DataStax / Astra DB TS, the TypeScript. And then all you need to do is doing a new of Astra DB, give it the token and the endpoint. Here, I don't know why it's not reading from the environment variable. Maybe that's something we can try to do it too. So again, all of these are being done. They are asynchronous call to when you do the db.creation, the actual API to create the collection. Over here too, it will come back to you, as a promise, right? The promise is again asynchronous. Things you issue the command goes over and does its thing, and asynchronously, basically the control of the program returns back to you. But as such, the collection might still be being collected. But when it's ready, essentially the promise will hold, essentially hold the pointer to that creation in here. So, and you can also use likewise the same kind of pattern. You can do new Astra DB collection, and then you get a reference to a collection too, and then it's printed out in the console when it finds it, right? So you can do that too. And then there's also drop connect collection too. So same thing too, is only that API is called drop collection, and that's how you do it too. And also again, the responses comes back, as a promise object, which is like asynchronous. When it's ready, it will come back to you like that too. So so this is JavaScript. And how about we take a look too? Oh, over here too, there's also promise API response. And I was curious too. So it's a promise that resolves to a dictionary. Basically, it's dictionary representing the response from the database after the collection deletion. Well, in this case, if you issue a deletion, but you can be doing like promise for, over here, right? You're doing a create. Let's take a look too. Yeah, so it comes back if you do a create. It basically comes back to the created collection object. So if it's deletion, it will come back with the what did I say? And it will come back as a the response from the database after the collection deletion. So if it's all good, this part comes back with an object. The object will hold the value that indicates success or failure, of the operation too. So, and then again too, you can also do insert too in this case, right? And this particular case is insert one. You can insert one object into the collection, for example. Insert many collection and many documents as well. So these are like the different ways how you can do in JavaScript, right? And so, yeah, so give it a try. Now, for me right now, I just happen not to have the setup to run the JavaScript, but let's do something. Let's take a look and see how Python does it too. How about that? But right now too, we have already kind of stepped through doing find the collection, and also there's also find the cursor. Basically lets you page through the results in the response to using find cursor. But over here, as you can see too, essentially make a handle, right, DB, that connects to a particular Astra database, pass a token and the endpoint. Ideally, you want to read it from maybe an environment variable or read it from somewhere where it can be like encrypted even, or something to it in, the actual code, or, so to speak. You don't want to hard code any kind of sensitive information in your code, but this is just an example in here. And basically over here, we want to try to do a find cursor. So then in this particular case, we define a search vector, a number of documents to return, and we want to return like limit of up to 5. Oh, well, actually exactly 5 in this case, or if it's less than 5, that's fine too. It's basically limit is 5. And so for you, we want to be able to then refer to db.collection, and then essentially too, you perform a similarity searches, right? And and essentially do a collection.find, give it the metadata filter, and then pass it the options and convert it to an array. And then basically it comes back to, then you kind of it's all nested, right? It comes back and it's basically for each, it will then print them out to the console. So so again, there's this is how you can do in TypeScript to do this using find cursor, and it returns the object that lets you page through the results in the response. I think earlier we talked about that, and so that's how it's being done. So okay, that's pretty cool. So okay, so what we'll do is that my next session, that's what I will have to be preparing to actually have them we'll execute some of these, right? So for now it's just curiosity, just to see how it is being done, in programmatically TypeScript. So let's take a look at Python. So Python too, as such, right? I think Python is probably a bit more direct in this case too. You do Astra DB Ops class, and you pass the token, and then essentially to return none in here. And that's what it is. It connects to the database, right? And then the thing is, though, we do want to pass in token, get it from, the optional is basically the authentication token. If it's not provided, and then it must be set in the environment too. So basically, optional, you can say, I can pass in my Astra over here, right? Astra DB API endpoint for the endpoint, API endpoint. And then there's also token, and pass in the token, which will be read from the environment, and the namespace in this case, and that's what I can do. And once you get the handle, then you'll be able to then start working with it too. And the thing is too, there's also an Astra Pi .db, that particular class, right? That you want to import Astra DB into it too. So these are like create database, how you can do it programmatically. And also some other things are like, you in this particular case, doing DB ops too returns you a client handle in here too, and essentially to your DB ops is here. And wait a second. Okay, so my database, I give it the set of configuration or parameters I want, right? And that will actually be passed on to your client handle, create database, and give it the database definition, pointing to this set of parameters that you configuration that you wanted. And then it will come back, with the response. And the response should be, I think that should be just a place to hold, rather, hold the results too. Then you can figure out if it has been created successfully or not. You can kind of examine the new DB response to kind of make sure that, at least the status is good. I guess even if the status is good, you may still want to do some sort of query to make sure your database is actually good, So there could be a case in which, it tells you that it does something, but it can be wrong too. So you don't quite trust it completely. You want to do some more testing. So in this case, you can use the next command, like Astra DB ops, do a .get database. And the database is basically, can be anything, right? So get database, I think if you, in this case, find a single database. Let's see what it does, right? So this particular example is basically do the get database and then pass it the ID, right? The ID, what is it, right? The ID is basically from a dictionary, you pass it the database ID. Well, it's actually interesting. What would that be, right? The DBOps get database. I guess if you don't give it, it should, okay, so you have to basically know what it is. I wonder if you pass in a null, what will happen, right? Does it return you? It's probably confused if you want to say find one and you don't specify one. Let's take a look. But find all database will be interesting too. In this case, is that you, in fact, the options you give it is an optional dictionary that contains, the string and of any type in here, right? So, and basically, to call it too, you can just do all databases basically will hold, from get databases. And then if you kind of loop through it, you should be able to see what all the databases you have currently in your, in your particular instance, right? And then you can also do delete. And then the string will actually hold the identifier of this database that you want to delete to. So okay, so that's how you can do it, and you can also do terminate too. Terminate is just essentially drop it, right? I guess, right? Is it the same? Terminate date. Oh wait, terminate date. This is just an example. Sorry. Okay, and you can do create collection. That's what we're interested in. Find out using the Astra DB. You kind of essentially import the Astra DB from that package Astra. Py, right, the Astra Pi, and then you can find Astra DB handle, and then the API is just create collection, pass it collection name, pass it the dimension, the metric, and the options too, and then it returns you back the actual DB collection in here too, and it's essentially the created collection object. So let's take a look in here, right? So you from Astra pi.db import Astra DB, and then initialize this client by simply Astra DB, pass it the token and the API endpoint. Again, ideally you want to have it read from the environment, some variable somewhere where you're not hard coding. And then you create a non-vector collection, db.collection. And then from here too, you essentially DB collection will return a handle called collection simple. And essentially, too, you use that. Wait, where is it being used? It's not even use it. And so db.create collection. And then it will pass the name of your collection vector 1, in this case underscore vector 1. Dimension you want 14, and metric is cosine, like that. So you could do that too. So now I won't be setting this up, or actually, you know what? Because I don't want to run it now, because otherwise I have to essentially cover up. I don't want to expose my token to the public too. I can't show it to you. But in any event, as you can see, from even programmatically, it's not too much code essentially in Python. So, and then of course too, you can do find all the collections and all of these things that we were doing earlier with curl too. So this is in Python. How about this? Let's take a look at Java. Is actually something I'm kind of most familiar with, I should say, right? So I'm curious too, just to see. So connect to Astra. You use Astra DB admin, or you can also pass it to token in here. And essentially, two packages com.datastax dtsx.astra.sdk.documentation, and import the com.dtsx astra.sdk.astradb-admin, and then you can do a connecting admin using define your static void main routine. In this case is for quickly doing it. You can then do a new construct your Astra DB admin, pass it to token, and then with the token you essentially or actually with your client, actually Astra DB client and admin client. Okay, so this is just a demo. Actually, it just says that you can omit the token if you defined it in the environment variable. So there we go. So if you have already defined it in the environment, if you don't pass it, then it's basically will use the variation. It's essentially will read from your system environment variable to do it. So there are different ways of doing it. So essentially, you can also explicitly pass in these token and API endpoint, as well as even with the key space. So these are like different overloaded different version of your API that you can do. So okay, so as you can see, it's not like too hard to do, and you can choose the language that you are most comfortable with, I think. So okay, anyway, how long have I been doing this, right? Okay, here we go. Let me kind of go back. I didn't even check to see if there are any question too. I just kept talking this time, and I apologize. Let me see. Not sure is Devarsh, you're still here, but again, thank you very much for being here too. I don't see any more messages right now, so assuming it's okay. But again, the chat GPT. Okay, let's take a look. We won't be building it now. It's going to take some time, so let's kind of take a look. So I'll guide you to here, because if you want to kind of go ahead and play around with it too, you can do it, right? So you can kind of go to the tutorials in here, and let me kind of move this out of the way, okay, and giving us more space. So tutorials, you can see I built a chatbot with LangChain. And that's what you want to look at, right? And build a chatbot with LangChain. Again, I mentioned about why I kind of spend all that time, kind of, taking a look into how do you set up your Astra database and set up all these environment variables. As we all know, as developers, every time we come to a new place, a new environment, is all of these configuration kind of set up to we all know about it, right? So something we cannot escape, so to speak. So let me kind of take a look and to see over here if there's anybody too on Twitch, for example. Um, I think I see a couple people watching. I don't know if you're actively watching, but thank you for coming too. And if you like, you can follow me as well. So that would be great. Okay, so here it actually says it will take 25 minutes to do this. So actually, let's take a look. Maybe I won't have time today, but let's say if I have time tomorrow, I can actually work on this too. If you want to come back and we can do this 25 minutes together. But I bet it's not going to be so simple. As the thing is too, sometimes these things, it is true, it's not wrong to say that, okay, you need 25 minutes to step through, but there are lots of prerequisite steps or little things that is required, like a prerequisite that's not documented, that's haven't been vector into here. So I don't think I'd be able to get this done within 25 minutes. I can still stream longer, but I really don't think I'd be able to do that. So, but in any event, let's step through this and then we'll work on it actually for tomorrow. How about that? So, okay. Let me kind of move things out of the way for us here. Okay, okay, I think it's okay. I'll just stay where I am right now. So as you can see, this particular example will build a chatbot, with LangChain. But I wanted to point out too, even though it says LangChain, but the thing is, it's also making use of Python. Look, making use of Python to do some of these, so to speak, like utility things, right? In a chatbot kind of a scenario, like I mentioned earlier on, is that it's on the browser. So we need to be able to scrape, the screen from the browser in order to be able to pass on to the server for processing all of these things too. So, okay, so that's what it is. So, okay, here we go. So just wanted to kind of quickly step through, it's quite complicated. Well, it's after all, after you've done it, you may not find it to be as complicated as it looks like, but we can kind of take a look too, and I've already talked about it. So in a chat kind of like a scenario, again, chat involves like two things, right? You are chatting to something. In this case, we're talking to a robot, a bot, a chat bot. So the chat user will essentially use the front end. The front end will actually be done in next.js and basically JavaScript. And then we're using Vercel, that particular platform, to launch it, right? So Vercel is a deployment kind of platform, supports next.js. But inside too, you can actually run fast API, and there's a UV corn kind of integration kind of point too that it uses. So basically too, the front end will be done, from the browser. And essentially too, that's where the chat body is, and it will scrape all of the conversations and then send it over for further processing to the fast API, all of these things too. And then fast API essentially over here will also have augmented response going back. But let's go this direction of sending chat over to the processing direction. So over here, right, fast API is Python. So we require the Python runtime. And it's basically this runtime will take the input and will also chunk them together properly too. And also kind of, the thing is too, you can have a whole chunk of data coming in. You do need to properly chunk them, convert them to embeddings too, the vector embeddings. And then essentially build like the prompts from here, right? It will go and kind of do the search and look for similar documents. And then send all of these things to completion API, which is the open AI API, right? The to kind of Python. And then essentially too, I think actually I should say embedding API, all of these are actually, I think this is where the LangChain comes in too. And then the completion API is, essentially too, you do need embedding API because you want to interact, with the data to make sure, all of the mappings are being done correctly, all of these things, and also do the completion too. And so over here, then from the Python runtime, then you pass on the JSON, right, over to Astra database. So this is where Astra database comes in. It's becoming important too because it provides like the chat history, all of these other things, and the embedded data too. That's kind of reflecting of your query string, and also with the searches, all of these are being handled in here, right? All of these are embedded FAQ tables. We're using Astra database to hold, some sample data, and they're called FAQ, from our Astra database. We'll kind of send it in there, and chat admin will be the ones that manage all of these FAQ table to be supplying the most updated version to it, and will be, kind of every so often we'll be updating the Astra database to include the latest FAQ information. So essentially that's what it is. So again, let's take a look at the prerequisite. We need Astra account and also a paid OpenAI account. Now, I already have one, so I have to assume that, if you want to follow along, make sure you also get an OpenAI account in here. And then you need also, because with deployment part, you need a Vercel account too. Now, for Vercel, you can get also a free tier to do that. And essentially, it is a JavaScript operating deployment type of platform. It's kind of handles some of the kind of back end, of this chatbot kind of functionality in this case. And then we'll need Python 3.7. Python is essentially being used for utility type of thing, like web scraping and that type of stuff. And then essentially too, the LangChain is in, gets deployed onto the Vercel, and then that's what is basically talking to the Astra database. In all of these things are in here. And then you also need Git too, if you like command line Git too. And you need to be proficient in the following tasks: interacting with the database, running a basic Python script, and entering parameters in a user interface for Vercel too. So that's where we launch that particular interaction, the JavaScript interaction kind of browser on the browser too. Okay, so we can kind of do a quick thing in here. Clone this particular starter app, is the Astra DB chatbot starter. Let's do that and copy it. And now it becomes handy again. Let me go back in here. Let me do this. Let me go to another. Oops. I have a Twitch directory, although you see like many things. So let's see. You know what? I don't go into here. I have also a Gen AI folder that I use. As you can see, I've done like different things already in here. But in this case, I'll do one that says, how about Twitch? So these are my Twitch project in here. So what I'll do is doing a git clone, cloning this particular example over here. Okay, so they're quickly being done. And in this case too, I cd to the starter. Okay, and then in the Astra portal, select databases in the main navigation and then click on create database. And now I've already created it. I know my database. So, and then in the create database dialog, select the vector deployment type, which we have already done. In the configuration, enter a name for the new database in the database name field. All these things, okay, use pay-as-you-go plan if you want to intend to do extra stuff. Now, the thing is, if let's say you're a startup company, you are interested in using our technology, we welcome you to do that, and we also support you by allowing you an initial few months of paying a low fee, and then we'll help you on board and basically also provide you support. So that's a crucial time for your company to start up, right? And you need some support, so we can be there to help you. So just let me know, or let DataStax knows too, and that you would like some support. I think the initial payment is not too high, considering from a business account perspective, you can get, I think, up to 6 months of kind of included, a kind of starter pack to it. So just so you know. Okay, so create the database, let's say, and we have also set up the DB Astra DB ID environment. So find the fingerprint icon and then click the clipboard icon to copy the database ID into our Astra DB ID. Let me see. Oh, you know what I'll do? I haven't set that yet. So let me copy over my database ID. That's the thing. One thing about this is you do need to wait. Let me go back. Where is it? Here. Reload. No, this is delay in processing. Okay, there's some delay, but let's see if that works. I have to sign back in again because it is a timeout if I'm leaving it idle essentially. So all right, so I'm back here and let me go back to my December 23rd Azure database and I should have my database ID. Where is it? Here we go. So that's my database ID and copy. Let me copy again, make sure. Okay, come back in here. So. Okay. And then on the Overview tab, copy a region name from the regions table to use for your Astra DB region. So for example, US Central. I think mine is US East. So let me make sure. Oops. All right, let me go back in here. I think I'm wait, no, I'm West. What am I talking about? Let's go to the detail. Region is West US 3. Okay, close it. Wrong spelling. You are probably wanting to tell me that I'm... Oops, no. Fat fingers today. Okay, export. Okay, like that. Okay, awesome. So I've done it. And I've already done my application tokens, already all set up. I've also set it up to Astra DB namespace to default key space. And then now is my Open AI API key. So that one I cannot show you. So here I am. I gotta be right back, okay? Okay, I'm back. I just set up my OpenAI API key as well. So make sure you go to OpenAI to obtain your API key too. It's not very hard to do it, right? So I won't show it here. Presumably you already know how to do it. Create an account and it will be paid though. But the thing is though, for ChatGPT 3.5, that's a very, very low cost option. Of course, if you go for 4, then it will be much higher too. So in my case, I've kind of pay a small amount and I've been only using primarily using ChatGPT 3.5. So, okay, so now we have all these environment variables all set up now. So I won't display them and in here, but trust me, it's already there. And my pip version is also, so I think it's 23.32. So mine is all good. And also, upgrade pip is needed. I think, okay, for the sake, I think I already did it like a week ago, but let me kind of do it. Oh, I think, okay, because I don't have Python, but I do have Python 3. Already satisfied. So that's all good. My pip's also all good. And then install the requirements in here. Essentially install -r requirements dot text. Is there requirements in here? Yep, in here. Okay. Oops. Oops. I think I kind of did install. Okay, so some updates to do in here. Okay, cool. This is done. And now we run the load data Python. So we'll populate it. So that's cool. Python populate _db load data. So I've already done this. Do I need to cd? No, but let's take a look and see what it is too in this particular directory. So we could actually, let's take a look. I'm curious, right? Just to see what load data is. So essentially too, this is the part the load data is using LangChain embeddings, and we basically use their embeddings, OpenAI embeddings, to do the actual the loading of the data. So this is where the LangChain is being used, and it's basically it is necessary, right? We do need to we need to load the scraped website data that lives in the scraped results JSON too. So as you can see too, we're using import OpenAI embeddings class, and then essentially too, what it's doing now is that open embeddings, this one we have to pass the OpenAI API key, which I've already set, and then the particular URL to fetch this particular chat, is basically using this, right? The request URL is basically over here, this one. And the request header will pass in the Astra database application token, and also the type is application JSON, like that. And then so the main is here, right? So it gets input data. Is over here is basically scraped results file. It opens the file, have the handle as F, and then scraped data is basically use JSON.load to load up this file, or kind of load up things from that file, I should say. And then essentially too, if it is FAQ in that file, in the URL, lowercase, all these things, and then you append is basically build up this particular FAQ in memory right now, right? And returns the FAQ scrape data in here too. Now, the thing is interesting too. You can kind of take a look. It's basically for each web page, right? Process now the FAQ filter, the data, because we already ran the get input data. It returns input data FAQ, and over here too, the web page in this FAQ will kind of pass through it and do all of this splitting, and using split Q and a this particular function. Let's see. Oh, actually, where did it come from? Wait. I think it's taken from import local creds, no, and import. We're importing from split Q and A. So that's interesting. Let's take a look too, because even I am not too familiar with it. Okay, split Q and A. Let's take a look. I think it's a LangChain thing. Split Q. Okay. Oh. Oh wait, I'm not doing it right. Oh, Q, yeah, split Q, import Q and A. Am I spelling it right? Oh wait. I'm kind of curious to see where this is from. So let me see. Is anybody saying anything? No, nobody is saying anything. So okay, so let me kind of take a look where this comes from. Okay, so I guess you could kind of trust it is basically FAQ, right? Contains, I'm kind of guessing, right? Contains, for FAQ usually contains, in every line, right? Or every section or chunk, of data that you have a question and an answer. So they essentially just split them, right? Based on the web page, it splits them and build up this structure to be used in memory for processing right now. So over here too, and essentially that's what it's doing. This particular kind of a format it is doing, and it's split. Based on what is comes back from the web page, and then over here too, then you then identify the question and the answer, kind of build them up in memory right now, and then over here too, you do a for each two you are doing a text to embedding, kind of with the question you embed it. And embed this the question, and then you doing a time dot sleep. I think that will just kind of make sure it's not going like way too fast, I suppose, and then kind of make sure things are not out of whack, I suppose. And then you do a to insert in here. You can do insert one, the document, or I guess like, oh, okay, here we go, to insert. And it will also it's basically will make sure that the question you kind of like classify the question, either it is a cluster one, not adding if it doesn't conform to that particular question type of format, right? Interesting. So okay, that is very cool. So request, it will essentially send the request out, and then the data will be the JSON like dumps, to insert, basically. So essentially, I think let me kind of try to read out what it is trying to do, right? So it looks at all the question. If it is cluster, oh, if it is equals, if the question is equal cluster, or question equals like question mark, that means something kind of not expected, then basically telling it is malformed, then we skip them and just kind of print out an error. Although I think it would be helpful though if you kind of tell what it is. Well, although I think you already know the question part isn't correct, so you don't care what exactly it is, just knowing that it's malformed and then skip over. Otherwise, too, in this case, you basically then will send the request over as post to the request URL. Let's go take a look at the request URL again, which is up there, right? There we go. So it's basically sending to the Astra database FAQ, right? That's what it is doing. And then sends a post request to Astra FAQ, and then give it the headers and also the data itself. So data will essentially to I think it comes back, right? It's a JSON dot dumps to insert, right? So basically, in this case, it will then print out, the response will kind of figure out how many string is actually get how many lines, I believe, like how many strings the count to, it shows you how many will come back, right? And so or how many you have read, I think some kind of measurement in there, some kind of count on something, and then it will then increment the count at this point, right? So actually plus string, let's see what it is. Response text plus, okay, so response text, it will print out the response text and then also do a count of where it looks like it's like where this line of request is, basically, or actually the response, like what is the line. I think it just keeps track of how many and then count it to. Okay, so I think it's kind of roughly that's how it's doing, and everything in being in done here is using LangChain. So if you're kind of curious too, that's what it is. It's JavaScript library supports, JavaScript. Oh no, wait a minute, this isn't JavaScript. What am I talking about? And why is it? This isn't. I'm so sorry. This would be a Python thing. I'm so sorry. Open AI embedding. Then why is it they call it like a LangChain, right? That's what it is. The example says this is a LangChain. Okay, so here we go. scroll all the way back to what I was saying. I was just somehow assuming it's LangChain, but no, this is Python code. I ought to be kind of quicker in recognizing it. Anyway, so that's what it is. So essentially, too, this is for loading the data and also for splitting it, and all of these things, converting into embeddings, and that's where this is being done. And these are think of them like utility programs in Python in this case. I think that's where it's kind of confusing. We call it like, okay, building with LangChain, but the truth of the matter is there are more than just LangChain involved in here. There are many. It's much like going out and do a performance, and guess what? So many people behind you, right? It's kind of like that. So, well, sometimes we can draw some kind of philosophical thing based on what we do every day, isn't it? It's kind of applied to what life is like. But anyway, yeah, I won't say too much now. And I think have I been actually doing this for only over an hour? I thought I'd been like streaming a bit longer too, but of course I also kind of have to put on hold 2-3 times because of the furnace person. So anyway, I think in this case, what I'll do, let me kind of step through this a little more. And basically, the scrape results, there we go. So it's split it, essentially. Split it, there's a title of the page and also content of the web page that's scraped. So essentially, it is actually doing a scraped results.json. Wait, am I actually looking at the right thing? Let me see. This is just load data. I'm sorry, scraped results JSON, right? Where is it says it will output the scraped results.json. Let me see where that is, right? Wait, so where is it, right? So let's do this. Oops. No, I didn't do it right. Okay, here we go. Oh, so it's not in this particular thing. Because that's in, obviously, there's a directory called scrape, and that's where it is. Scrape results. So that's what it looks like in here. And essentially, too, it takes the FAQ from the URL from the Astra site, from the site to from the Astra server, takes all of the FAQ, kind of massage and do all these split the Q&A and massage it and all of these things, and essentially to like structure them accordingly, right? And then generate this file. And basically, too, is just not printing out all the new lines are \n. So let's take a look at this. How about this? I think isn't it less or more? I don't think more would do it too, but actually, what is the thing to use, right? And actually, let's take a look at the scrape readme too. So the scraper is essentially, too, this particular case is using React and Python to do it. And in that file, wait, this actually is so confusing. I don't know why. It seems like sometimes, I don't mean to say, marketing people like to say things in a beautified way, but not necessarily true to what it is. So it's very confusing. So essentially, it uses both React, JavaScript, and also Python to do this job too. It's doing this great. But in any event, you can also read through this scraper README file. It will kind of tell you how it is being done too. So that should be good, right? And if you're interested, take a look into it too. There's Astra scraper. So this is the actual Python code to do the screen scraping. And this thing is not actually doing the screen scraping. It's relying on Selenium, the web driver, to do it. So if folks, if you've been doing like web level auto testing, right? Selenium is the library that you can use. So it also has a lot of, obviously, screen scraping too, as such as automation tool, testing tool. So that's interesting, and that's what it is using. Hey, and guess what? you know what? I almost forgot. I actually have to run my Chicago Java users group meetup tonight. So in less than 2 hours, and I do need to. All of a sudden, I remember. Let me start to get things ready. You know why? Because the speaker just pinged me about some questions. So even though it's still slightly less than 2 hours, let me start to get that ready. But I think we have kind of stepped through quite a bit today. I mean, I touch on some of these, kind of even though we're not actually coding yet, but we're taking a bit of an initial taste of what it looks like to write a chatbot, and chatbot, in generative AI chat GPT format. So there's a lot more things to it. So please, I invite you to come back again and follow me, and then we'll have more of this too. Okay, how about that? Okay, now again, in order to get to these documents, you can go to the tutorials, build a chatbot with LangChain. Okay, and this is what you can kind of look at too, and get a an understanding of. But as you can see, there are many different steps, and that's what we have stepped through. At least we stepped through the database part. How do you set up collections? How do you get set up your database? Set up all the environment variables. Those are very important first of all, and then you can start to use the data API to kind of interact with this. And then as you can see, we're using Python, we're using JavaScript, and guess what? Astra database itself, is a managed cloud, but underneath the hood is basically Cassandra database, and it's written in Java. So there's JVM involved as well, but that's just not in the foreground for you. For you, you can just totally trust that it is working well. Java itself is robust and everything. So do consider us, as your choice of vector database. Okay, and with this, I want to thank you so much again for having watched me. I think I've been streaming for about over an hour now, an hour 15 minutes with a little break in between when I was handling my furnace service person. So thank you very much. Please leave me any comments. Please continue to watch this and follow me, and we will build this chatbot together. So then you can also start how you can work with chatbot, right? And with this very exciting chat GPT technology. Okay, thanks a lot, and you all take care. Okay, and don't forget. Actually, let me do that before I forget. Where is my cursor? Oh, here we go. I forgot to kind of wanting to tell you again, and right now my screen is working funny. Okay, look at this. My Discord server is right up here. So if you want to kind of take a look into there, just look up, right? Follow me on my Discord server and interact with me, ask questions, and share with me the projects that you have too. Okay, and until next time, I hope to be tomorrow. If not tomorrow, will be next Wednesday that I will do another stream again. I like to do more now. Okay, all right, give me any feedback, and you take care, enjoy, and stay warm if you're in cold places. Okay, thanks a lot.